G'day guys, it's Curly from Curly's Quad Shed Down Under, and now today's part 3 of the BONT ZEUS aluminium speed plate breakdown. Decided to call it part 3 just to save any confusion about stuff. So I thought the best way to do this is, because I'm going to go over individual components, go over the measurements of the bolts, what size bolts, what threads they use and so forth. Best way is probably just to put one back together. So I'll reassemble a plate. I have a plate here that has been broken down into its individual components. So there's the complete plate, as we've seen before. The complete plate is there. And now we're just going to put one together. So I'll put the complete plate to the side, and we'll just go through from the biggest to the smallest. So we'll put the plate together and go from there. Okay, so let's go. So we've got the plate here, which is just a plate by itself. The only thing it's got is the little Derlin cups, the Derlin pivot cups. And just for the sake of things, we're going to weigh things as we go as well. So it's the BONT 155 base plate for the ZEUS aluminium speed plate. It's the weight on that is 143.7 grams. So it's 143.7 grams on the BONT ZEUS, just the base plate by itself. So you can see that's beautifully finished base plate. We have the Derlin pivot cups, and then we have the thread for our where the kingpin goes. Now the thread where the kingpin goes is a 3/8 course. It's a UNC course 3/8 thread. So the kingpin goes in as such. Now the thing with the kingpins on these, which I haven't actually seen before, and probably the reason they do it this way is just the ease of manufacture, but it's actually got a separate bolt, which is like a locking bolt that locks it into the plate. It's not a locking bolt for your action. It's a locking bolt that locks it into the plate. You see a lot of, this is a kingpin from LXT. You see how the actual bolt we use it to bolt the kingpin in is actually all one piece part of the actual kingpin itself. So I'm assuming the way they've done it this way is probably twofold. Is just easy to manufacture. You don't have to worry about making that. You can make it just a specific bolt with obviously the split pin action in there, split pin function of the grub bolt. But you can also probably then also adjust the height or the length of your kingpin to a certain extent as well. I'm sure there's people out there who will tell me exactly why that functions that way. So basically what you do is we want to obviously reassemble. So we have different components. So once again, that is a 3/8 course thread on the part that goes into the actual plate itself. And then we have the adjustment nut, or the adjustment bolt, the adjustment nut here, which is a 17 mil. So you need a 17 mil spanner for that one. Okay, so 17 mil for the adjustment nut. And then up here you have a little locking, we're calling it a locking screw, but it's not really a screw, it's a locking bolt. And that takes a 4mm Allen key. Okay, so we have a 4mm Allen key on the locking grub screw. We have a 17 mil adjustment nut. Then we have our kingpin, which is 3/8 course thread, and the thread on the top of the kingpin is a 3/8 UNF fine. So 3/8 UNF fine thread on the kingpin at the top. So I'm going to undo the adjustment bolt. Now what I like to do too when I'm reassembling my plates, I like to put a little grease on. Grease I use, I don't have the brand in here, but the grease I use is just a Teflon based bottom bracket grease for skates. So I just put a little bit of grease on it. This is a little container here, a little smidge of grease there. Just helps things to go in nice and smoothly, and probably stop you from getting threaded. So there, a little bit of grease on there, and we just place it into the plate. For some reason this bolt won't go all the way up on the thread, but it's probably made that way. And I don't know if you can see that, but this bolt is just almost coming through there. It's almost flush. So we've got the bolt in there, and we'll just give it a bit of a tighten up. It doesn't have to be super tight. Just give it a nice firm. Don't crank it down too hard. We don't want to crank things down too hard. We just want to make things nice and firm. Okay, so there's our plate with our kingpin. I'll put the other kingpin in as well. A little bit of grease on there. So the other kingpin. I'll leave the little locking bolt or locking scrub screw in there, and I have previously put some grease on there. Let's get some grease on there. I just didn't give myself a rag. I have got a rag over here somewhere. I'll just grab that rag. Seriously, try and do a video and things always get misplaced. Always forget something. Okay, so we now have both our kingpins placed into our plate. They're both placed in as they should be. I'll put a little bit of grease just up on each shaft. Doesn't have to be much, just a smear. Just a little smear of grease up there. And like I said, I also do put a little bit on the grub bolt. I don't like taking these out because these are very fine, but I put a little bit of grease on there, so just be very careful putting these back in because they do have a very fine thread. Now the thread on these, if I look at my chart, the thread on the is exciting stuff. So that is the M5 times 0.8. So M5 times 0.8. That's what it says on the chart. I went to Bunnings and I checked and tested all the bolts and things, and the little things on the wall, make sure that I had the right thread sizes. So a little bit of grease on that. So that's the little locking or grub screw, whichever way you want to call it. Okay. So basically, the tools you need really is a 17mm spanner for the bottom of your kingpin, and also for your adjustment nut. You need a 4mm Allen key for your grub screw. Sorry. Okay. Now we're going to assemble it. We'll put both the. Let's put this to the side a little bit. Well, one thing I didn't do was actually just weigh the actual kingpin itself. So the kingpin with the complete kingpin with the locking bolt, locking grub screw, and the adjustment nut. Let's see what that weighs. That is 31.7 grams. So that's a complete kingpin with locking adjustment bolt and the locking grub screw. Okay, that was again when that was 31.7 grams. Okay, I'll put that back in. Just a little tighten, not too much. Take that off. You wipe your hands. Too much grease on here. Right, so I'm going to put our cushions on. Now the cushions I've got here, I'm just going to put the BONTs back on. Right, I'll be back in a sec. Sorry guys, just need to get a little bit of a drink. Right, so onto the cushions. Now the cushions, we'll go the measurements of the cushions. So the BONT cushions that came with it were BONT. They were 88A hardness, and the diameter, external diameter on them is 25.23 millimeters. So 25.23. That's the external diameter. The height on them are 14.15, and the internal. Well, actually, we'll just measure the kingpin. So the kingpin is on the main part of the shaft is 9.45 millimeters. So we'll say the hole in here. Get that right. 9.49 millimeter hole. Yes. Okay. So that's the size. That's the height and size. That's the dimensions of your cushions. Okay. So the cushion goes on. We're just going to use the BONT cushions at the moment. This part, they just go over and down. Okay, and then we can put our and we're going to put our trucks on. Now, I have disassembled the truck here. Now, there's obviously a threaded, it's got an adjustable pivot pin, which I haven't had before on any of my skates over the past. So there's a little star washer that goes under there, and a little the thread on that one. So the thread on the pivot, which I can't see. Here it is. So the thread on the pivot pin that goes into the actual truck itself is a 5/16 fine. There's a little bit of grease on there. So 5/16 fine. Make sure we put our little star washer on, and we just screw that into the truck. The spanners you'll need for this is a 12 mil for the locking nut, and then you have a, what's that? That is a 10 mil for the actual pivot pin itself. For the actual pivot pin. So you got 10 mil, so you need another 10 mil spanner for the small bolt or small nut on the pivot pin, and then a 12 mil for the large. We'll go over the adjustment pivot pins later, but there are also a lot of other videos online which you can probably give a link to, but we will do pivot adjustment. Once I put these together, we'll have a separate little thing about adjusting cushions and adjusting pivot cups. So basically, if you start off, we just place the truck over the top, put the other one over the top, already pre-greased that one over the top. We put our second cushion over top, or our top cushion. And I think I've forgotten something, haven't I? No, that's okay. And where did I put the other cushion? There it is. The other cushion over top. Put our cushion cup. And we put our adjustment bolt. Sorry, keep saying adjustment bolt. Adjustment nut. You know what time in the morning this is? It's actually probably 1:30 in the morning I'm doing this, so I'm a bit sort of tired. Just make sure you back off your little rub screw. Make sure it's not in, because what that does, it expands the kingpin to lock your thing. So I'm just going to loosely put this on there for now, and we'll go over how you adjust your cushions later. Okay, so all right, guys. Well, basically that's the plate reassembled, and I've gone over some of the measurements and some of the thread sizes and bolt sizes and tools you need. So hopefully that explains a bit. Sorry if I'm a little bit out of it. Like I said, it's 1:30 in the morning at the moment. So hopefully that can be part 3. I said didn't want to go on too long. So the next part we'll go over how you adjust your pivot pins and how you adjust your cushions and so forth, and maybe just some other little mounting options and why you mount and so forth. But probably mostly just really about adjusting pivot pin and adjusting cushions. All right, guys, I'm going to go home, go to bed, and thanks for watching. Love you all. Have a great day, great week, great Easter for those of you who celebrate it. Yeah, catch us later. Thanks for watching. See you guys. Love you. Bye.